For the next part, I'm going to be setting up my initial WordPress settings. This is going to start with going to the dashboard and going to updates. You might notice up at the top of the screen, at least it was showing it on the top of my previous page I was on, there was a notice asking me to update to WordPress 4.3. However, it looks like the quick install has already taken care of that and updated it automatically. I would still check, though, on the updates page just to make sure you are indeed using the latest version of WordPress. If for some reason you're not, there will be a little button right here to update. And this also applies to people that may end up not using quick install. You would have to manually go to this page to actually update WordPress. The next thing we're going to be doing is going through the settings. There are a couple of different settings pages here in this settings submenu that I always end up going to right after I have created a brand new site. On the general page, I need to change my title and my tagline. Now, during my installation, I set the title, which has transferred over to here, but if I ever wanted to make some changes to that, I can do so through this page. My tagline, though, is not something that it allowed me to set on the previous screen. The tagline of your site is text that's going to end up showing up at the top of all the pages on your site. And so I like for this to be a brief tagline about what your site is going to be about in terms of letting your visitors know. But it's also a great place to include one of the primary keyword phrases that you might be targeting on your site as a whole. So for me, this is going to be either SSD or solid state drive. My primary keyword phrase that I'm going to go after, and everything that the rest of my content will kind of be related to, is fastest SSD. So I'm going to call my tagline, I'm going to say helping consumers pick the fastest SSD. So you can see how this is short, but also meaningful. When people land on my site and they look at this, they can kind of instantly know who my site is for and what it's going to be about. But then I also have a keyword phrase laid in to my tagline as well, something that no matter what the content is of any of the pages throughout my site, this SSD phrase being up at the top of my page will likely end up being beneficial to me. So once I have this set, I'm going to go down below and save my changes. And then I'm going to proceed on to the writing page. Now on this page, the one thing that I find important to do is provide a list of update services. Now, this is not going to work when you publish a new page, but when you publish a new post on your site, talking about the difference between WordPress posts and WordPress pages here. When you publish a new post, WordPress can automatically notify these different update services, which can in turn help you to get your site indexed faster on Google. Now, a lot of people will commonly recommend to put as many different possible update services as you can find in this list here, because the more pings you're sending out there, the faster you'll get indexed. You know, the more is merrier type of a mentality. I'm more of a quality over quantity type of person, and so I really use a fairly short list for these update services, and this is something that I've updated for this year and will also be providing you guys with this current list that I use. So you just punch this list into the box here and save your changes, and then we're ready to proceed on. Next up, we have the reading link. Now on this page, up at the top here, we will come back later and set a static home page in this drop-down box. For now though, I'm really more interested in the checkbox all the way down at the bottom that says discourage search engines from indexing this site. Now I don't want to keep this setting on forever, but at least while I'm doing this initial setup of my site, before I actually start to add content, I do want to discourage these search engines from indexing it, because they might pick up information or an incomplete site, and it might take them longer to come back and actually index me a second time. So I simply check that box to begin with, save my changes, and then I am ready to proceed to the next step. So now I'm going to go to the permalinks page. On the permalinks page, I simply want to click on post name right here. This is going to change the format of the URLs for my site so that it is something more meaningful based off of the title of my post instead of the default that uses a date along with my post name. So once again, I will save my changes here. So I have gone through now and updated each of these settings. I've done my updates. I've done the general, the writing, the reading, and the permalink settings. So I'm now ready to proceed on with plugin installation.